Hello and welcome back. Sean here. Mountain's Garage, Mountain Speed Shop, Mountain Speed. Has a good ring to it. It's Friday here in the state of Maine, and today, like every other day, was interesting. I had got a text the other night when I bought the tote full of Hirsch shifters last week, I guess. The gentleman told me there was a box of parts, small parts that came with it, and he'd bring it in someday. And here it is. Unbelievable. The value that sits here. When I started messing with her shifters 4 or 5 years ago, well, I've had one in my possession most of my adult life. Off and on, not always having a vehicle that had one, but they're a quality piece. It's a national treasure, if you will, the Hirsch shifter. So, it's hard to believe this had to be bought, probably the contents of a speed shop somewhere, and collected over time. What are we looking at? Well, we're looking at probably a couple hundred warranty cards. I wonder if I filled it out and mailed it in, what would happen? On 50 West Street Road, Warminster, Pennsylvania. The things are just like new. You know me, I can't throw them away. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. They have zero value, but that's really not the exciting part. For me, let's get right to the good stuff, the arms. I've mentioned before, these are stupid money online, eBay and such. Upwards of 20, 30, 40, 60, $80 a piece. You can buy aftermarket ones, which I have, and they work pretty good. You can buy, the first, second, third, fourth, and reverse lever for probably 50, 60 bucks. But they're not as thick. They're probably not hardened like these are. These are just cool. And what I like about this assortment, I've kind of stacked up the ones that are very similar. This reverse one I have quite a few of. I believe that's Bourgogne or Muncie. Bourgogne T10 and Muncie, so that's cool. I know I can make it work. I can just tell by looking at them. When I build my shifters, I only need a Hirsch shifter body and some arms, and I make everything else. The bracket, bolts, of course, are easy to make. The rods, I put rod ends in. But the arms are a key part of the ingredient, and like when I picked up the Cadillac Transmission a few years ago, all the Ford top loader stuff, where it attaches to the arm, they're on an angle. And sometimes it's handy on other models, but typically the GM transmissions are straight up and down, and the others are angled, with the exception of reverse on a Muncie and a T10 is angled as well. So, but they're not as long. They don't really make that great a shift arm. But here's a whole assortment. Hundreds of dollars worth. That's awesome. I have a few miscellaneous brackets, some aluminum, some steel. They still have the part number, so I'll research what they are. These bags of small parts, each one contains 3 of the adjusting end where it attaches to the shifter itself. It's 3/8 fine thread. Every shifter requires 3. And each one of those bags has 3 in it, plus all these that fell out of the bags. The nylon bushings, I got a whole bunch in the tote full of shifters. And now I must have another several hundred of them. The nylon ones are, again, nice for the street. And I buy the bronze ones by the 100 bag, because I typically use those in my, rod end straight arm shifters. But this is more than a lifetime supply of these for sure. And by the time I unpack all these, and I'm going to have quite a supply of bolts and the Hirsch shifter clips. Good stuff. Hard to believe. So again, this was all included. And some universal arms that clamp on for like the old 3-speed shifters. I find it really neat that inside each of the packages, it tells you the part number, who packed it, and they hand signed or hand put their initials on it. Like that happens anywhere in the world today. It might, but it's pretty rare. This package here all beat to heck, but it's one single arm that somebody ordered, probably hung on the wall of a speed shop forever. It has instructions, warranty information, genuine Hurst, same address. Yep, starting to rust in the package even, but unreal. A day we will never relive. Days gone by, I guess. And that's why I love it. That's why I started messing with the shifters in the first place. It's doesn't take up a lot of space. It's really fun. It's not too dirty, other than the drilling and tapping and cleaning the initial shifter. If I can find a new shifter body, that really makes a nice unit. But the old ones clean up really nice too, and you can rebuild them, put new shims and stuff in them. They'll pretty much last forever. I mean, they go one lifetime of a human, and then you can rebuild them and they'll go several more. I spun you around so we can get a look at another treasure I dragged home this morning. At first glance, it looks like a greasy differential, a 9-inch Ford, as it is. To the trained eye, I've given you all the information you need if you watch the video, so you could go out and spot the same thing. Looking at it, right off the bat, it has an N, nodular iron. And on the back side, so you can see it, is the Ford casting number. So you know it's a real live twin rib, nodular iron case. Super rare. I mean, they only put them, I'm not a Ford expert. If you are, feel free to chime in. They put them in the 427 cars. They put them in the 428 and 429 cars. And there's one FE, like a 428 powered pickup, half-ton. They might have put this rear end in. And that's probably it. It makes it pretty rare. Rarer, if you will. So if you watch my videos, you know there's lots of things you need to know about a 9-inch Ford. This has a 2.89 bearings. Those are the small bearings. It's 31 spline axle, which makes it super cool. I was afraid. I didn't even look. I just bought it and dragged it home. If it was 28s, sometimes you can buy the side gears and fix the differential. I've done that before. I was hoping it was 31 spline. It was, and not only that, it is, according to the numbers, because the good old internet will help you out, and lots of people have dedicated time to try to help you identify your stuff. This is the early Detroit locker. Once again, if you're a Ford expert, I'm pretty sure it was an option. I don't think it was installed after the fact, but it could have been. Either way, and I know the reason this differential was out for me to purchase because they didn't like all that clicking and clacking. My first glance at it, I said, wow, it doesn't look as big as the Detroit lockers that I have, the NASCAR ones. But it definitely has a number on it. I can see a giant spring in there, so I was pretty sure it was something usable in one form or fashion. I have, you know, a collection of 9-inch Ford rear ends already, always looking for more. You can tell by the thick ring gear that the ratio is low, high numerically, low ratio in slang term, and it's a 456. So 456, Detroit locker, end case, twin rib, with a fill plug. I haven't found the date code yet and traced it, but it should be 1969 and up, because it has the N actually cast into it and it has a fill plug. But these are all things that I'll clean it up another day. I got enough of a mess going today. I want to be doing something else, but I had to identify this stuff. And while it's spread out on the bench, we might as well talk about it. So definitely a cool differential. Price was right. When I buy stuff like this, I'm not shopping for it, but I'll clean it up, probably go through the whole thing. It's easier that way, just to blow it apart, you know, put new bearings. And I have bearing kits by the dozen, so make it fresh. decide on the ratio. Now, I was just looking at that Jericho transmission that I bought. I was just talking about it in the shifter portion of this video. And when I bought it, it has, you know, 2 arms for forward and 1 arm for reverse, so it looks like a 4-speed from the outside. I pulled the cover off, and there's a spacer where first gear should be. It's a stock car transmission. It's face-plated, so for clutch-assisted, if not clutchless, shifting. Wicked cool transmission, Ford Motorsport, but with like a 189 first gear, 190 something, I forget what it had. I determined you would at least need a 456 gear if you were going to drive that around. Now, clearly on the highway, it wouldn't be much fun, but in a rat rod type rig, you're not going to go that fast, probably. If you're just putting around, the thing would be really fun up to that point. But you'd need minimum like a 456 gear. So who knows if I ever put that thing together. I'm still researching. I was told when I first bought it, the Jericho transmission, that I'd be better off selling it and finding a 4-speed or buying a new one than trying to update that one. But that seems kind of kooky, doesn't it? I mean, I can't put a gear in it. And maybe if I have to change the cluster, but there's just a spacer in the upper gear train, so the mechanism's there. Doesn't seem like it should be that hard. So if you're a Jericho expert, boy, I got lots of questions today, and that is how the hot rod community helps each other. So for today, this is going to go out of my way. I'll probably start filling up that bench I cleared the other day. I will take the time like I did last week. All those Hurst shifters, I have the tiniest little cabinet over there that I paid $15 for at a yard sale. And she's freighted with parts now. 20 shifters, I don't know how many rods. And I'll organize all this stuff because that's one area of my garage I've done a really good job of not making it messy. And it's really a pleasure when I go in there, I know where everything is. What a concept. So if you're really keen looking in the background when you're watching the video, when the camera is facing that way, there's a giant box over there. That's my Woodward Fab bead roller drive system ×2. I forget how big the box was. I just got one the other day, well, 2 weeks ago. My small box from McMaster Car showed up with my gears and my oil light bushings and my shaft collars. I went out down to my van down by the river that I live in and got out my steel. I have some old chunks of steel because even though I have a stand for the new bead roller, I don't like it, so I'm just going to build one. I've ordered casters. It'll be here tomorrow. And my little buddy with the plasma table, I believe, is cutting it out right now. He said the steel showed up this morning. He was leaving work early anyway, and he was going to try to knock it out tonight. So I'll have to drive to Hell and Gone to get it and bring it back in pieces. Now, here's the funny part. He's telling me, he says, I might need you to bore the blocks out for the shafts and bring it back. I'm like, what do you mean? He says, well, I'm going to build the whole thing for you. I'm like, I thought I was buying the raw material. He's a hell of a fabricator, but I kind of want to put it together myself. Never once. That's why it probably went over my head when he mentioned, I don't remember him saying he was going to build the whole thing for me. So, but I think that's wicked cool, but he's got better things to do with his time, and what the heck, I might as well build the whole thing myself. But I appreciate him cutting out the backbone for me. So, and he had bought, I think he figured this all along anyway, he was going to build 2, or taught me into building one, because we've been communicating about it since last Thanksgiving. So he's a good guy, good fabricator. And that's that. Hope you have a great afternoon. And I'm going to pick up my mess and start a new one. So tomorrow we're going to start building my bead roller. At least the stand. But wait, there's more. Every video, it seems, is either an error that I notice later on tonight when I'm watching my own video. I'm like, you got that wrong. Or you forgot to say something. So the Cadillac Chevrolet transmission I did the other day, the Cadillac transmission in a Chevy case, I mentioned in one of the videos, it had a 6-clutch direct drum. I thought that was pretty cool. Another unique feature of that transmission is it had 3/8 cool lines. Typically, 98% of Turbo 400s have 5/16 steel, brake lines for transmission cool lines, but they're 5/16 in size. The only ones I've ever seen with a 3/8 connector on the side of the transmission for 3/8 hard line were the brake drum TH475s. And not all of those had them. A lot of them still have the 5/16. So for whatever reason, in 1968, GM decided that that 6-clutch direct drum Cadillac transmission needs 3/8 cool lines. So I was telling the guy that when he picked it up, that if you're going to use those, that's what size they are. If you're going to go AN, AN is 3/8, -6 AN. It's 6/16, and you can reduce that to 3/8, right? That's how the AN system works. It's 6 AN is 6/16 of an inch. So 8 is 8/16 of an inch. And you can break that fraction down and, figure it out. So that's that. I think if I break in again, this portion of my program, I should do it every Friday, is correct all my mistakes from when I was making a video every day, I could have made a half-an-hour video. But I try to be accurate. But sometimes when you're talking, you call things the wrong. Typically, that's what it is. I'll say this is a hammer, and it's really a paint can, something silly like that. But as you're rolling along, thinking, interacting with a camera, a guy commented today. He says, "I don't know how you seem comfortable in front of the camera." I said, "It only took 400 or so videos, and I'm still not there yet. I'll watch these videos a few years from now and think, wow, that's kind of cringy." All right, have a good day. Bye-bye.